Hello, Maria. Welcome to the Scaling Deep podcast.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear more about your membership. So, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your business, your membership? Yeah,
So I
why not
run
here?
my membership. It hasn't always been a membership. So I've been a virtual assistant for about 8 or 9 years. I grew it into an agency. And then about 2 years ago, I decided to go into kind of coaching women how to start their own virtual assistant businesses because I was always getting a lot of questions around how do I work from home? How do I make money traveling the world? How do you do this? So I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna coach women into how to do this. And I've always wanted to coach women to in some way or shape or form. And I just decided to go all in on the coaching and I closed down my agency and I started my membership about 2 years ago. Um, and it's called the Inner Circle for Virtual Assistants, and it's for new, aspiring, established, all virtual assistants in all stages of their business, who want to get together, learn from each other, learn new skills, get some coaching, build their businesses, grow in confidence, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, awesome. So, why did you start a membership? I want to hear a little bit more about why that type of offer over other things you could have done for people.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I didn't try the other things. So I did. I
So,
tried.
this is your last ditch effort, was it?
Yes, it was. It wasn't my last. Okay, so I started my business like when I decided I wanted to get into coaching, right? And close down my agency, get into coaching. How do I do this? So the kind of the first obvious step was like one-to-one coaching. So I tried that one-to-one coaching. It wasn't like I didn't do any like month-long programs. I was just working with women one-on-one every month, every week, whatever it was. And I found that very exhausting. Like I loved working with women and seeing their journey and seeing how they developed and working just so closely with them, but it was a lot.
What
And
was
it
a
was a
lot about it?
lot.
Just tell me a little bit curious about that because I do a lot of VIP days as well, and I actually
Mm,
love them. Like I think I could probably, if I had, 4 VIP days a week, I probably would. That's all I would do.
really? Really?
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
know what
that's
it is about
interesting.
it. They're just so they work so. And I'm okay. I'm taking this moment to do a little pitch for like hire me for a
Go for
VIP
it.
day because
Yeah.
they're so effective. They're
Mm,
we just get to the core and the truth of what needs to happen, and we get the plan and we get clarity. And it's like because I guess it's not implementation. It's really just like mostly clarity and then a plan, and then of course there's support afterwards. It's just whereas I watch people in my membership kind of try to eke this out on their own and it takes them
hmm
4 months 5 months to figure some of this stuff out that we can do in like a half day. So I think for
Yes.
me that's so energizing as a quick start. So I'm
Yes.
sure you might
Okay.
have had a different experience maybe.
I guess it depends on what kind of person you are. Like, I'm not the kind of person who likes being on calls. I don't know how you
Mm.
structure your VIP
Yeah,
days,
they're
whether
they're Zoom calls. Yeah,
they're
they're
Zoom calls,
yeah,
because a lot of people do them on Voxer or whatnot. But I do not like being on calls all day
right.
long. So again, that's one thing,
Yeah, so
and
it's draining.
also
Yeah.
it's draining. Like in the moment, it's energy giving, and I come off the calls feeling fully energized, but I cannot go into another call straight after. Like I
Yeah.
need to decompress.
Yeah.
So in
No,
that
they're
sense,
they're
it
intense.
wasn't.
Like one a day I
Yeah,
could and maybe with a couple of
yeah.
days off. Yeah.
And also, I think, I don't know, your audience sounds like it might be a little bit further along in their entrepreneurial journey. My passion was always working with women who are at the start of their journey.
Yeah.
So, not making assumptions here, but a lot of them couldn't necessarily afford kind of the rates that I wanted to charge and that I
Mhm.
needed to charge to kind of make it like a full-time thing. Um, Not to say that there weren't women who were paying my rates. There were, and we did really, really good work together. But I just the calls mixed with the kind of the rate that I needed to charge, it wasn't really a good fit for
Yeah,
me
like
getting
you
the
it felt
one-to-one coaching.
unsustainable for you. It
Yes.
sounds like. Yeah.
Yeah. It felt unsustainable. So then what's the next step after that? Like, what's the next step after one-to-one coaching? I tried group coaching. So I did a group program, and that I actually really loved. I love that because I love being in a room with women, a virtual room, and and just kind of like teaching what I want to teach, but also allowing them and giving them space to kind of come up with their own solutions, brainstorm together, and all of that. I loved that. So I would do a group program with about 6 or 7 women in a group, in a cohort, and that worked really well. And I actually still do that
Oh,
alongside my
great. Okay.
membership. Um, so so and then I came across, was it Stu McLaren? I don't know who it was, but like memberships came into my world like 3 or 4 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if they started becoming a thing then. I don't
They
know if
did.
people were
Well, they
talking about it.
did, right? Because
Yeah.
everything that we buy, almost everything moved to subscription and it became this
Hmm.
thing that the world has changed, right? So
Yeah.
then we started
Yeah.
seeing it more in our world because it's just a matter of time that, things permeate different industries.
Hmm.
Yeah. So for
Yeah.
sure, they were everywhere all of a sudden.
Exactly. They were everywhere. And it would just seemed like such an appealing option for me and a great solution for my potential members who are at the start of their journey. They can't afford thousands of dollars in coaching. And I was giving them this like low ticket solution to, learn what they need to do to kind of move along their journey. And I love the idea because I love structure. I love structuring my days, my weeks, my months. So I love the idea of like my month is going to look like this: 2 live calls, one resource, one guest expert every single month. And that's all
Hmm.
I have to do. And like support my members in the community. I love doing that, going into the Facebook group, answering their questions, encouraging them, commiserating, all of that stuff. And I just loved having those set deliverables every month. And if I want, I didn't have to do anything else other than that. And I love that kind of predictability. Just that,
Yeah, and
I
it's a
just love that.
lighter load. Like it is really
Hmm.
a lighter load. Like I would love to do more in my membership in a way, but it's just not that high demand. So it's
Right.
interesting because people are in there and they're using different things and they are using things that you've created already that you don't, it's all like some of the course type things because
Exactly.
usually it's like a bit of an all-in-one, right? There's a lot of stuff that they can access while they're in there, and so they're using things without you knowing about it. So it's kind of a weird feeling because I'm so used to being hands-on with people, as you probably were, and it does
Yeah.
make me think, well, once in a while, is this working? And it's like, oh, someone
Exactly.
pops up. Oh, I dove into this thing that you have, and it was so
Hmm.
helpful. And I'm like, yes, this is what it's all about.
That is such a good feeling. And that's exactly right.
Mhm.
You're like, are people getting anything out of this? And you do feel a little weird, like their payments are coming through every month,
And you're
but you
like,
don't
oh, I
see
haven't
them.
talked to you lately or seen you
Yes,
lately, and you're wondering, but yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And then they'll reference something that you said in a course like 2 years ago, and you're like, wow, people are actually using this stuff. This is amazing. So like the gratification is just amazing, and they're getting it at a price that works for them. I'm getting so much use out of this content that I've created.
Yeah.
It feels really, really good for
Awesome.
everyone. Yeah.
So when you got started, how big was, I mean, these are the kinds of questions I think are really interesting for people. It's like, how big was your audience or list, or how
Hmm.
confident were you that you could get people in, that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
like, then maybe I'll ask you a little bit more about like what did happen, but how did you
Yeah.
feel at the time? Because knowing when people are ready, I always say you're never actually ready to launch a membership
No.
because
I
most
mean,
people who are launching a membership and they already have like 50,000 people or 100 on their 1,000 on their list, they're not worried about, like, they're
yeah.
optimizing, they know they're going to sell it. But I think there's a lot
Yeah.
of people who have not launched group programs before. They haven't um, done a lot that isn't, say, like a live workshop here and there or something. And they're trying to figure out, well, is this going to work? And it often
Hmm.
doesn't quite turn out the way we want, but it's still like you kind of have to start at some point or it never will get to the point where it's working, right?
Yeah.
So can you tell me
Completely.
how what that moment was where you're like, okay, I think I can do this?
I do think you have to have an audience. I did have an audience because I was creating content. Like I started my list, not that it's huge right now, but I started my list very early on in my business, even when I was just a VA, because I always knew I was
Nice.
going to go into coaching and courses. So
Right.
I started my list very, very on. I've had people on it very early on for years. So, I mean, one of the biggest things I can tell your listeners right now, if you don't have a list, please
Start your list.
start your list right now. Even if you have nothing to send them, just get people agreeing to give you their email address to hear from you in the future. So start your list. So when I started my membership, was it like 3-4 years ago? I had a pretty sizable list.
Like
I had
how
a
big?
Facebook group. Okay, it's not that huge. It's not that huge.
I was just, no, at the time,
Maybe
I
it
just was
was
curious to know.
maybe it was like 5,000.
Okay, well, that's big for some people who have 500. So yeah, that would be a huge
Yeah.
milestone for people who are, yeah.
And bear in mind, I'm constantly culling my list of cold subscribers.
Yeah.
So it's
It's a
fluctuated. But at
healthy
the
list.
time it was around, yeah, it was a
Okay.
healthy 5,000. Um, so so I just thought, I can't even remember the moment where I said, I'm gonna run a membership. It just
You
so
knew you'd get people who had been around for a while who were
yes.
interested. When you have a list of that size and you are culling it, you know that
Hmm.
you're still relevant to people because they're opening at least, right? And not
Yeah.
all unsubscribing. So that no,
Yeah.
that's a really great size to launch a membership
Yeah.
to. You know you're going to get sales, but at the same time, you don't know how many and you don't and
Yeah.
there's the pricing idea because you've got
Exactly.
an opportunity to do a bit more volume, lower ticket because you have the volume enough to know that you can probably get 50 members in or
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
tell
And
me
I
a little
think
bit
that's
about how
how
you decided all that.
so I decided I was going to run a challenge, a 5-day challenge to get people kind of to sell them the membership afterwards. And I did that. And I was literally creating the challenge as it was happening. It was the most stressful time ever.
Yep.
I don't know what I was thinking, but I did it. I was creating the challenge, the daily prompts, scheduling the emails the day before. It was insane, but I did it. It was amazing. And I did the challenge in the Facebook group that I've had for so long. And there were about 2,000 people in it at the time.
Okay.
So the challenge was happening in a public forum. It wasn't like
Yeah.
a pop-up Facebook group. So even
Yeah.
people who didn't sign up to the challenge were kind of getting exposed to it in my Facebook group.
I think that's a really great idea. Yeah.
I don't know if it was or if it wasn't
No, I think it is
because
actually because you do. I mean, what do you do in your group, your free group? Your
right?
free group is there to promote the things that you do, right? And so what better
Yeah.
content than a really active a flurry of
Yeah.
activity?
I see I don't do that anymore. And I'm thinking like anyway, that's a whole other podcast episode. I have like this Facebook group that's just sitting there. I'm not doing anything with it because I don't run my challenges in that Facebook group anymore. I do
Oh, I see.
pop-ups. Because I don't know, Facebook changes its algorithm all the time. So if you want your post to get seen, it needs to, like, those posts need to have engagement on them. People
Yeah.
need to be liking them and engaging with them for more people to see them. And that won't necessarily happen in a big group that's been dormant for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
So
So it's not very active, your group is right now, or
now it isn't because I've had it for years and I've just left it now. I
right.
do my challenges in pop-up groups.
Which could be easier though, because having, I don't know where you host your membership, but having a
Mm,
Facebook group that's free is always tricky. Like people will say to me, how do I want to start a membership, but I have this free group that I've been serving all these years and really serving it.
exactly.
Right. And I'm like, oh, okay, that is tricky, but maybe
Yeah,
it's time to stop, you know, doing free work. So
exactly.
you got to make that transition, but it can be tricky.
But that's why it made sense for me to do the challenge in the free group because I was trying to transition these people from free to paid.
Yeah.
So like I'm going to show you what I'm all about, my teaching style, everything you'll learn if you join my membership. So 2,000 people were watching me do this. And then from then on, I now do the challenges. They had their one opportunity to look and buy, and now I do the challenges in a pop-up Facebook group. But I still haven't figured out how to like engage that dormant group.
Yeah.
Do I
Yeah.
close it down?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Um so I did my first challenge. I can't even remember how many people I had. Maybe it was around 50. So it wasn't like a huge conversion rate. I don't even remember how many signups I had. It feels like so long ago. But I had a good number join. Like I was happy with that number.
Yeah,
And
you're like it felt like you have like a critical mass that you could get
yeah.
energy and interest and something like it, and
Yeah.
how many
And
or
it's
how much were you charging for it?
So then at that time it was $29, which is very low ticket, and it was fine. There were no complaints about the price at all. And I had two tiers. So I had the monthly, and then you can buy the yearly
Yeah.
plan, which is 2 months free.
Yeah.
And along with the yearly plan, I still do this now. And this is something I'm still debating as to whether I should continue to do this. So with the yearly plan, you get a bonus like 6 module foundational course,
Mm,
which is really foundational. Like if you're starting your virtual assistant business, like you need to go through these courses.
right.
Um, and I'm like in my, I don't know if this is the space to be talking about this, but like it's been on my mind. Do I move the course
We could turn this into a
into the
coaching call.
monthly? Right?
I have these great VIP days, by the way.
I know, I've heard.
Um,
Yeah, so
but I mean,
so
that is a good bonus for that lifetime value, right? Which I mean, I think the important thing that I'll just sort of point out is that it is important for us as owners to not necessarily have in and out people, right? Like I mean, I have a 6 month minimum in my membership, and I
do
do that
you?
because I don't want to have like get to know people, and I do get to know them, and then have them leave. And I also have a foundational course, which is worth a lot, and a
Yeah,
lot of people like that, they could join the membership just for that and have
yeah,
the full value because it's like a 9 module course. So
yeah.
that's why I justify that. It's like, because I don't really want people coming and not, and then, and yeah. And I would have to
Mm,
charge way more for my monthly membership. So I think that regardless, of what you're doing, having a incentive for people to kind of stay for
mhm.
however it is important for something that is going to minimize the try people. And I know that does work for some memberships to have people just come in and do a 7-day trial or whatever, but it becomes an administrative thing. So you need to
Oh my
have
God.
like a bigger team. Like to me, that
Yeah.
feels like you're not running a boutique business at that point. You're running kind of
Yeah.
a really
Yeah.
numbers oriented business, like
Oh
volume.
my gosh. You
So I
say the
think you
trial
have to
thing.
do when you're our size, like I mean, you're probably a little bit have more members than I do, for example, but it's still like you still have to run
Mhm.
it so it's sustainable for the owner and it's the
Yeah.
kind of business you want to run.
Well, exactly. Completely agree.
Yeah,
So with 2 years on, we have like about 100 members across annual and monthly.
nice.
So which I'm happy with. I'd be happiest if it was at 200. Like
Yeah.
if it's at 200, like anything on top of that is just icing on the cake. So that's my kind of next big milestone that I'm hoping to hit. But
And
I
did you
increased,
increase the price point?
I did
Okay.
about a year ago, not hugely. I increased it to $37. It didn't affect conversion rates, which makes me think if I were to go even higher, it won't affect conversion either.
Yeah, it's
I
still
mean,
fairly
what's the
low.
breaking point?
And there
It's
are
still very
people,
low.
there
Yeah.
is earning potential for a B2B type of, well, B to small B business
Yeah.
that people are earning from it and they're writing it off. And it's not just an interest. It's like it's actually helping them to get their results. Just like
Yeah.
Facebook ads memberships are like $200 or $300 a month, right? Like they're because
Yeah.
people are working on
Yeah. Because it's
high
like,
ROI.
that's the thing. Like, our memberships are all about helping you put more money in the bank if you're going to get
Yeah,
really crude
exactly. Yeah.
about it. So you're getting your investment
Yeah.
back, which makes me feel better about when I do next raise my prices. And I think I
And you wouldn't need
might.
more than 100 members if you raised your
No.
price. Well, yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
you would, yes and no, but the point, yeah, is that,
Yeah.
yeah, it does help. It makes a difference. And sometimes we have to think about how I always say to people on like coaching calls and stuff, it's like, how big do you want to get? And how much are you willing to do the things that it takes to get volume? Because not everyone is a volume person, right? Like, we were talking earlier about how I'm sorry, everyone who's listened to all my podcasts are like, yep, she's going to talk about how she doesn't like organic social media again.
Yeah.
And I just, I just have this total resistance to it. And I know that doing that, like
Mhm.
out there every day in people's faces, things, even on Facebook, like I notice how it's this weird observation that there's people on Facebook who I feel like, oh, like who I've been known for a long time and they're friends or whatever, or old friends, and I'm like, I just know them and I know what's going on with them. But if they were to see me, I never post, they'd be like, oh, Lisa, I haven't even like seen or heard of you or thought of you in forever. But of course, I'm seeing them because they're post a lot, people,
Yeah.
right? And I
Yeah.
feel like I know them. So I know that it makes a difference. But it's that like, I don't know, personality, sort of interest, a whole combination of things that can help you just decide, well, look, for now, I'm probably not going to be the volume person. So I need to charge accordingly and
Yeah.
design the membership that's going to serve
Yeah.
a smaller crowd
Yeah. And that's
and be
perfectly fine.
sustainable.
Yeah. And if that's your personality, fits with your energy and your
Yeah,
personality style, then and it works for you, and it's perfect. It's fine. Like everyone should just do what works for them. That's why we
exactly.
run our own businesses. Otherwise, go be an employee somewhere.
Exactly. So I just think that it's that consideration around like you have to price what you can live with if you think you're
Hmm.
going to be at a certain amount for a while.
Yeah. But then it's that like internal conflict, like I'm giving you so much, I feel
Yeah.
like it's worth a lot more. And
Yeah.
especially if I have this foundational course and I put it into the membership,
Yeah.
like properly for the monthly members, I feel like I have to raise the price and I'll
Yeah.
feel good about it. So I'll get there. I'll get there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How do you build your list now, and
Mm.
except for with the Facebook issue you talked about yesterday?
Yes. Yes.
And then I also want to know, how do you sell? Like how do you enroll people? So if you don't mind sharing that with us, it's just super valuable for people to hear
Yeah.
about this.
Okay. So I use Facebook ads to grow my list. Maybe I'm a little over reliant on Facebook ads, but I do use Facebook ads. They've been working really well for me. And they are, I've got a conversion ad that goes to a free masterclass that's about 45 minutes long. And at the
Okay.
end of the masterclass, I pitch a 50% off your first month into the membership.
Nice.
And so that's been working really well. Like it's been working really well for me. And I think what helps is that I'm also really active on Instagram. I know you said you don't like organic
It's
social media. I
okay.
love Instagram. So I
That's
love
awesome.
having conversations with people on my DMs. So when they sign up to the masterclass, I ask people to come follow me on Instagram.
Nice. Yes.
So every new person that follows me, which most of them will come from the ad, I start a conversation with them. I'm like, hey, how are you? Where are
You
you? I know it
personally
sounds
go in
really,
and
I do. I
wow.
do. It might not be the
You know,
best
I
use
wouldn't
of
be
my
opposed
time.
to that. I really wouldn't. Like I like talking to people, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a good
I love it.
idea. I
I
think
mean,
I might start that.
I literally spend maybe 10, 15 minutes a day doing it. I'm like, it's not a huge amount of time. And I have conversations with them, like genuine conversations. They followed me. So I think it's okay for me to
Yeah,
start the
yeah.
conversation. It's not like I'm cold messaging them. So, and then I tell them about, hey, did you see that I'm offering 50% off your first month? And they're like, oh, yeah, I'd love to do that. And then I send them the link. And I get so many people converting from that conversation. So
That's
there's,
amazing. I love it.
yeah,
I actually believe the follow up is more important. People get kind of nervous when it comes to following up and,
yeah,
oh, they're not interested. They didn't get back to me. But it's like, how many times do you actually kind of like
yeah,
somebody was like, oh, I'm excited about this, but
yeah,
I'm not exactly sure. You don't follow up.
yeah.
And then
Oh my God.
they just sort of wander off and kind of continue to deal with the problems and sort of then come across another way to solve it, when you could have just been like, I see potential here for this, this, and this. Let's chat. And then bam, they're like, we're super excited to do this. Like that just happened to me this week. And if I hadn't followed up, then it would have been like not
That's
having,
amazing.
this amazing new client. Yeah, like it really is important. I think
You're so right.
it's like,
Like, and
it's that
that's where
connection.
people go wrong.
And if you
Hmm.
don't love doing reels, or if you don't, whatever, the thing that I don't love, like I love the personal connection, right? So for
Yeah.
anyone who's gravitates more towards that than doing something that's like push out, like, which is I don't know who's paying attention to me, but I'm just going to like do my thing and get kind of watched. It's different than having that subtle, quiet outreach, personal outreach. It's huge.
Simple. That's exactly, if you don't like social media, that's exactly right. You've got your 9 grid, leave your 9 grid. Don't even do stories. Just use Instagram to do
to talk to
personal
people.
outreach.
Yeah.
You don't have to. It's exactly right. And it's worked really, really well for me. Like we had our best month this January.
Nice.
I think is every January really good? I don't know,
Yeah, well,
but this one
this
was
January was
amazing.
really good for me. I think I did too, actually. I had my best
Yeah.
month ever in January too.
Yeah.
And
And
then
we
February was
had
not so good. So I think there was a bit of a there
what
was
in terms
something
of
about
like
this January.
members
Sorry?
or in terms of members or like VIP days or what?
Um Members like
Like,
the whatever did really well in February, January, nothing
yeah, it
really
didn't work.
changed. It did not go as well as February,
Oh,
but then I got on the phone
okay.
with my tech guy and he's like, yeah, February is not a great month in general for a lot of businesses. It tends to
Yeah.
flatten.
Yeah. See, I was hoping to repeat the success of January. I didn't do it for February because, like, yes, I rely on ads. So basically, in
Mm.
this next week, I'm doing my 5 day challenge again. So
Oh, nice.
my membership is evergreen, so people can join anytime.
Yeah.
But I do 5 day challenges every quarter or so, just to get people excited and just get a whole bunch of new people in. So in February, I started running like different kind of ads to get people into the challenge.
Right.
So I didn't use February to repeat the success with the masterclass ad of January. So in January, we
Oh,
got like 40 new people in, which is like the most I've ever had in a month.
wow.
And I'm like, I need to do this again and again and again and again. And then I'll reach my goal of 200.
Exactly,
So
right?
yeah, it's like a repeatable thing. But then I'm worried, like, was it just because of January and like new year, new
Well, I
me kind
mean,
of thing? Or
the thing about it is that it is and it isn't, right? So the thing is that if you know you've done it before, you can do it again.
yeah,
And yes, not every month might be the best month ever because you can't keep expecting things to always grow without fluctuation, which is of course one of those myths, it's like, oh, we're just going to start to do this. It's like we've been around in business long enough to know that you think you're like, oh, I figured it out. And then
yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah.
it's more like looking at that specific detail. If it doesn't go as well, what that actual thing that didn't happen. So for me, like I was telling you with earlier, when I analyzed my numbers, and it wasn't revenue numbers, it was just like um video views, finishes. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I gotta up my finish rate.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
like it was interesting. It was just like interesting to look at what
Mm,
could be improved so that you don't throw out the funnel that that has worked and it still works, but it didn't work as well. Doesn't mean that I mean, ads were super cheap early January. So I did have all
yeah,
these people coming in for $2 and everyone was excited first week of January and no one else was selling anything first week of January. So
yeah,
it did well, but so
yeah.
there's like some lineup reasons, but then it doesn't mean you don't look at the next month and go, okay, but this is the place to focus my energy on improving,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it could be for someone, they didn't get as not many leads.
yeah,
It's like, okay, improve the ads or get more people in different audiences or get on more podcasts. So I think it's just about
yeah,
analyzing that. Like
yeah.
my funnel kind of works, but if someone hears me on a podcast, it really works because they just join. I don't even know how much they actually read everything in the funnel.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I think we just need to know what it is that is the easiest path for us to get
Mm,
in front of the people who are ready for it.
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
just analyze that. It doesn't matter about revenue to me. It's all about like, I mean, it does kind of, but it's more about like looking at the steps that people are taking and looking at where those are
Yeah.
gappy.
Yeah. Definitely. So that's kind of where I am right now is I'm not trying to replicate January. I'm just trying. So I'm doing the challenge next week. This is March 13th, by the way. And yeah, I'll see how it goes. I've this isn't my main business. I also have a consulting firm, like a film PR consulting firm. So
Wow.
so this is another reason why a membership worked for me,
Right.
because I do have like half of the year I'm doing completely different. So I needed to find a way to serve my audience that didn't require me having to be there all the time.
Mm,
So
okay.
I pre-scheduled all of my master classes for 6 months. I pre-scheduled all of my social posts, all of my newsletters were done for 6 months. And
Wow.
I was out doing something else. And yes, I would pop in on the weekends and do what I could. I had somebody else hosting my my live Q&As, my brainstorming sessions.
For that part
It
of the
was just
year.
for that part of the year. It
Wow.
was beautiful. Like, oh my goodness. Um, I'm not saying I would never want it. I don't know if I'd ever want it to be like that all year round because I really do love connecting with my people and
Mhm.
hosting all of our live sessions, but it really worked for me then. So I don't know why I'm saying this right now, but
Do you ever see a point, like a point where you'd want to run just the one business, like the
yes,
membership?
that's a good question. Yes, that is my goal. My goal is to leave my
Okay.
other business behind and focus solely on the membership.
Okay.
Yeah. When I get to 200 members, that will happen. But so I have
Right.
to, that's like my big incentive, my big why is I need to leave close down my other business.
I
Even
see.
though it's
Yeah.
been, yeah, it's been such
How,
a huge part of my identity. So it's really hard to let go of that side of the business. So there's also
yeah, no,
some
I hear
like,
you.
yeah,
So tell me a little
internal
bit about
conflict. Mm.
the challenges. You've done quite a few of them, it sounds like.
Mm.
Do they get easier and easier because you keep doing them? Like,
Yes. Yes. I do the same challenge every time because I know it works. I know people love it. So I've got everything down to a T. Like I've recorded all of the steps. If this is something I could give to my VA, they can set it all up and all I
nice.
have to do is show up at the scheduled time. All my emails are scheduled, all my posts are scheduled, all the content is scheduled, the workbook is ready. So it is literally plug and play every time I want to run it.
And is it pretty
It's
much a replica? Like you don't have to redo all the emails, like you're just sort of okay. And are you finding that you're getting brand new people to it, or do you get some people who are in it over and over again and they still consider
I do.
buying, but they're just at a later point where they're paying more attention?
Exactly. I have my paying members joining them. I have members who've done it before who haven't yet paid for the membership who are doing it again. It's like they all get something from it, whether you're paying, whether you're not, whatever.
Yeah.
Whether you're new to me, you will get something from it. And it's great. It's great because the people who have done it before, they're so enthusiastic and so like engaged in the community. It's so infectious for everybody else who's new to me. So it's a great. I love it. But most of my ads are targeted towards a cold audience to get people
So you
into
are
it.
the majority of them, like you have to build up a certain amount of people that are
Yeah,
new that it won't be, just super repetitive.
exactly. So it
Um,
is. My ads are to cold audience. Yeah.
Yeah, no, of course. But I was just
Mm.
curious to know, like, is there a certain number where you got to get to kind of get in there and have know that it's going to be successful?
Mm. I don't know if there's like a set number, but if I can have at least 100 people, the lowest number I've ever had do the challenge is like maybe I had 200 people sign up. And the funny thing is, only 50% actually join the Facebook group where kind of all the magic happens.
Mm,
So I had the lowest number I had in the Facebook group in the last round was 100 people. And it was good. Obviously, it could have been better, but I did, I converted people, not as
yeah,
much as if it was a bigger group, but it worked. I need more than 100 like really engaged people because out of those 100, maybe 20 will be really engaged,
yeah. No, it's just
you know?
interesting to think through because people how and why we decide what we do and when we do it,
Mm-hmm.
and it is, and I just because I really want to emphasize it's really important to repeat things that
Mm-hmm.
work.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think people don't they all kind of often go, well, what's next? I'm like, no, like you need to repeat it. And even if it doesn't work as well, you
Yeah.
still need to work on improving it rather than
Yeah.
again trying something brand new. So I love that you're doing that. But the challenge becomes to sort of like how do you balance um re-inviting people who are lukewarm
Mm-hmm.
because they're on your list and they haven't bought yet and they may have come to the challenge or may haven't with the same thing that you're doing all the time and getting new people in and at the same because it's those people on your list are still valuable, right? And um you still want to be able to invite them in when they're ready and when it's
Mm-hmm.
relevant. So
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's what people worry about. They worry about repeating. And people aren't paying enough attention.
No,
You just need to
they're
repeat. Like
not.
if you have an email sales sequence that works, use it
Yeah.
again in a few months. Like don't
Yeah.
even change anything.
Yeah. People are not paying attention.
Yeah.
They are not paying. And if they are that annoyed, they'll just unsubscribe and they weren't like your client anyway.
Yeah.
So the one thing I do change, and I've been testing, I love how you said repeat what's working,
Yeah.
because this has worked for me immensely over. I've run this challenge like 6, 7 times now. The thing that I'm testing with each challenge is my bonuses. Every time I run this challenge, I do a different bonus or an open cart period. I have been really bad at tracking what's working, what's not working. It's like I just pick these things as I feel in the moment. What's a good bonus? I've done everything from like hour long, you get a 30-minute coaching session with me, you get a VIP like Voxer day with me, you get
Oh,
I don't
wow.
know what. So like or money off, like
Wow.
I've
Those are
tried
big
different things.
bonuses for a small
I know.
price point. Are these for the annuals?
It's for the annuals. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you're really primarily selling the annual. Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry. I could ask you a
Yeah.
million. I hope you I don't have to
No,
run.
no, it's fine.
Okay. So I'm curious to know when you're selling your program at the end of this challenge, are you selling like the annual and then the kind of downsell is the monthly? How are you doing it?
Yes. So full disclosure, this round of the program, this challenge, I'm actually trying to get people into my group program, my 12-week
Okay.
group program. So this is what I'm primarily going to be pushing this time around. And the downsell will be the membership. Like it's a
Okay.
massive downsell because like the program is 4 digits, the membership's $37.
Right.
So the hope is that I fill out my group program and then I get a whole bunch of monthly or annual subscribers.
Okay.
Yeah. But usually I will be pushing, I say this, I don't know if it's entirely true, but I will be pushing the annual plan, which is obviously bigger value for me,
Well, it
bigger,
makes
more
sense with a
money. But
challenge because to
yeah,
have an event that is so intensive and requires their time and then to sell something for $37, it doesn't really
yeah,
line up.
yeah.
So that's why I was curious to know how you're doing it, because to me that seems like like I don't know how you'd have to have a massive group in order to sort of make
Makes
sense.
sense. Yeah. But if you think about the lifetime value of your members, like
Oh yeah,
I
no, for
think,
sure, for sure.
yeah, and the ones that go through the challenge stay the longest. So the
Mm,
lifetime value, looking at my Stripe right now, it's like 600 pounds, which is what, how many dollars? $700?
I don't know. I'm Canadian, so it's even
700?
harder for me
Oh,
to figure that
okay.
out.
I don't know. Stripe is telling me that the lifetime value of my is 600 pounds. I don't know what that is in everybody else's currency, but
Right.
that's more than my annual membership.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I guess
So
yeah, so you're still it's still worth it for you, and that's what I'm hearing, for you to
yeah,
run a challenge even to a lower ticket because you know they're going to stay. Like you've seen it, you know that you've analyzed it over time, you've seen the lifetime level and they're staying in.
yes. As long as Stripe isn't lying to me and not gotten something terribly wrong,
Yeah.
yes, that is correct.
Okay.
So I'm fine, even if it was just the membership. Just to the monthly, like I love doing the challenges. I don't spend a lot of money on ads. And yeah, it works out for me.
That's
It works out
great.
in the end.
That's great.
Yeah.
You found your system. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's really important is that we're going to make slight changes to it to try to optimize and things will fluctuate, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
ad costs fluctuate and things like that
Mm-hmm.
do. But I think you kind of have your system and which is why it's not taking too much time because you
Yeah.
are not being overly perfectionistic by
Yeah.
if that's the word, probably not
Yeah.
by by like trying to make sure that every single email is original and like
No,
you're
I'm not.
you're saving some time in the things that matter because it's really hard to write, not hard, but it takes a lot of, I mean, I love doing this. I love writing long emails, like, and like really powerful emails. I just enjoy that. And yet
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, okay, everyone's just going to see this once and then 40, like 60% won't open it, that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's
Yeah.
just, I got to use it again. Like instead of okay to create new ones, but I can also reuse old ones. And I think none of us think about that enough.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Go look at your old emails, see which ones have the best open
Yeah.
rates, and put them in your evergreen email sequences.
Yeah.
Like definitely. So that I've basically got an evergreen challenge happening. I did actually run ads to an evergreen challenge, which people would get the same exact emails, but on evergreen and no live element. Um, and that would work well, but I didn't feel like people were getting like the full experience of being part of a community doing the challenge
Yeah.
together.
The
So I'm
live thing is
now,
what is
yeah,
pushing people over to the edge. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's great. I mean, that's super helpful. I really appreciate you sharing all the details, letting me
No
ask you all the
worries.
questions because
Yeah, I'm
it's,
an open book.
yeah, well, great. And I think it's really fun for people to see how things are done in a different way, but it's still a similar approach, like you're still consistent, you're still
Mhm.
um not flip-flopping around, you're not just trying things, you're sort of trying and then sticking with it. So rather
Yes.
than trying and throwing everything out. And
Yeah.
I think eventually if we're tenacious enough, we can get to that point.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. It's boring, but it's boring doing the same thing over and over again for some people. But if it works, then why fix it? You know? And and you're right in that if we're tenacious enough, we'll stick with what works, right? Rather than like trying to do the next shiny thing. And
Yeah.
like we're always kind of we should do this marketing tactic. Like everyone falls victim to like the next shiny object, but there's a lot to be said for consistency and repeating systems that work.
Totally. And you know what? People aren't boring. You're going to get different questions. You're going to get different energy. Like, I mean, it all is very different every time in terms of in the details of showing up and answering questions or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
happens to be. So it's not, yeah, it's not that boring. It's just,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, considering the types of cubicle work we could be doing, it's not that bad.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love it. Okay, so where can people find more about you and I guess Instagram and all those places? Let us know where we can find you.
Yes, I love being on Instagram. So you can find me at Hey Maria Carras. That's Hey MariaCarras. And my website is mariacarras.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. It was really fun to chat with you.
Me too, Lisa. Thank you for having me.